Welcome to episode 1, the inaugural episode of
What's Your Story with Ted
and Cory.
I'm Ted Werble.
And I'm Cory Bentz.
And we're excited that you're opening up your ear holes to us so we can share some fun stories with you about Nike's culture. It's a unique situation we're in right now. There is no one right way to be part of Nike's culture. It is a series of wacky, entrepreneurial, irreverent people, and these are some stories about their experiences. One of the things that happened recently at Nike World Headquarters, we had the opening ceremony for the Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski Fitness Center. It was a really unique experience, especially as a newer employee, and I don't want to speak just on behalf of myself.
It was my first dedication ceremony.
And mine as well. So it was exciting to see the buzz going around campus. Something new is happening, and we're about to actually work our way to even more new buildings. The Sebastian Coe building coming online soon, Serena Williams one day, and then
which is huge, by the way.
The biggest building on campus, over 1 million square feet of office space, which is
amazing,
insane.
Yeah,
and then the Unknown Innovation Building, which would be exciting, and then of course also the New York Garage. So a way to set up, what's to come next is let's talk about this opening ceremony.
Yeah. So, like you said, it was my first dedication ceremony, and I was super excited to attend. And I didn't make the cut on the registration. You know how you had to do the lottery for it?
Yeah.
I did not get chosen. My dad did, who's here with us today, and so he got to attend. But because of my position, I work on the registration side of it, so I was passing out T-shirts, and then luckily they were like, hey, there's space in there. Do you want to go see it? And I took the opportunity, and I loved it.
Way to take the action there.
Yes.
Just make yourself part of Nike's heritage.
Exactly.
I was lucky enough to get a sneak peek of the fitness center a week before the opening. We were working, this Nike Storyteller team was working with the comms team to help out with the opening ceremony.
Because you'll have to know all the details of the building.
We'll have to share it with plenty of Nike's business guests and also teach it to Nike's employees as well. So to do that, we needed to learn these stories first. So I was given an incredible opportunity with Dale Grealish, founder of the Nike Storyteller program. We had a personal tour with Todd Van Horn. And if you don't know who Todd Van Horn is, he is the VP of Special Projects, the driving force behind the University of Oregon uniforms. And then also he was one of the main players in kind of helping determine the special details going into the new fitness center. So,
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, I got to learn straight from the guy who helped come up with them.
And no one better to learn from than him.
And then actually, you alluded to this before, but we have a guest with us today.
Yes, we do.
Would you like to introduce?
I will. So his name is Steve Bentz, and he happens to be my father.
Oh.
Crazy. So he has been with the company for a little over 40 years now. And so we want to take this time to talk about the Coach K dedication ceremony with you and kind of get your perspective on it, since you've attended plenty in your time, while Ted and I have only been to this one.
Before I start, I know you were kind of jealous that I was picked to go to the dedication.
I was.
And you weren't. And
I asked him, who do you know? How did your name get on the list?
Yeah, which was pretty funny. But then when I saw you at the dedication, tell them what you did in the morning, which completely surprised you.
So that morning, I was like, what did I do in the morning? So that morning, I had to go down to Mother's Bistro at 10 in the morning to make sure that the brunch was all set up for Coach K and his family, because that's where they were dining. There's about 25 of them. They weren't going to be there till 11, but of course I wanted to get there early, make sure everything was ready. And let me tell you, Mother's Bistro on a Thursday morning is crazy. You wouldn't think so. I'm like, don't you people have jobs? Go to work. Why are you here? So I had to sit at the bar. I talked to plenty of managers. Last minute, 10:45 is when they finally got the tables ready, and I was just hovering over them. I'm like, I will bus a table. I will put a menu out. I will put silverware down. What do you need from me? And they were like, sit down at the bar, drink your tea. We got this. And then by the time him and his family arrived, everything was perfect. They loved the restaurant. They had such a great time. And he is probably the nicest man ever. And his family is amazing. Like his kids, he came with his 3 daughters and 10 grandkids, which we'll talk about later, but they're all so polite and so nice. So
you actually got to meet Coach K and interact. Wow, that's incredible.
So I wasn't expecting to, because I wanted him to just come in and enjoy, but he greeted every single person that was there. So sweet. So I thought it was amazing.
And for me, 2 months at Nike, and you got that experience.
Yeah.
it's pretty incredible what can happen here at Nike. And then the other part I thought was cool was how Coach K was such a great guy to everybody, to the staff that was working there and so forth. And that's what I liked about the dedication is when Phil Knight and Coach K were up there talking, you really felt like those are two really wonderful people that really had good interaction. And Phil, the first thing he said was, as I remember it, I'm forgetting already, but you know how important their friendship was between Coach K and him. And Phil told that story about how they kind of came together and how Nike started to support or sponsor, I guess, Duke University.
Yep.
Well, before we go on, you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself, Steve? I mean, you're our first guest here today, and I mean, obviously, there's so many stories you could go into here, but kind of in a summary, what's your story?
Yeah, well, I tell the story a lot. I'll do abbreviated version, but my dad was in the Air Force, so we moved around all over the place as I was growing up. I like to say I started kindergarten in Japan and graduated from high school in Spain. And I was a good runner in Spain, but I was having a hard time finding a university that would allow me to run on their track team. And Bowerman had an open door policy that if you wanted to come to Oregon and try out for the track team, everybody was welcome. So I came to Oregon, first time I ever set foot in the state, and I made the track team. And USC told me no, they didn't want me at USC. My freshman year, I improved tremendously. I was second place at the Pac-8 championships. I was sixth place in the national championships. I made a national team and ran in the Olympic trials.
Wow.
And I like to point out as a freshman, there's no USC guys in front of me in any of those races.
You'll never forget that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So for me, I mean, it was, I don't know how I ended up getting to Oregon, but I'm so happy I did. And when I graduated from college, I spent 2 years teaching. And then some of my friends talked me into quitting teaching and starting to work at Nike. And that was a little over 40 years ago.
Best decision you ever made.
Yeah, and that's where I met my wife. We adopted 2 children when we were overseas with Nike. My son was born in the United States, and we went back to Korea. Cory was born in Korea. And so my whole life, that fateful thing of coming to the University of Oregon and having a family now, including a daughter-in-law and a grandchild and another grandchild on the way, is all because of Oregon and because of Nike. I just feel so lucky, so blessed to be a part of this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible story. And I'm sure, it's a story you're familiar with, Cory.
Exactly. It's kind of like my story, too. I like to share it.
Yeah,
that I would not have my 2 adopted sisters if you would have never worked for Nike.
Yeah. I would say, like, my 2 daughters one would be in Taiwan, one would be in Korea. I mean, I wouldn't have my 2 children if it hadn't been for Nike.
I think it's an important lesson that Nike is family. I think we've alluded to that before. And your family is everywhere. Nike is an international company.
But did you asked about my favorite dedication, building dedication, and talking about family. That's jumped to mind first. I've been to a few of them, but that one was Bo Jackson was going to have his dedication. He was going to talk at noon in the Benoit cafeteria, and my son's sports hero, was Bo Jackson. So I took him out of school that day. I brought him to work with me, and he was playing around in my office, which is, you talk about family, people allow that, it's okay. And somebody said, why don't you take him over to Nike Tykes, They'll watch him until Bo talks at noon. So I took him over there, and they watched him, which was great. And at 11:30, I went to get Chris, and Chris was there, and Bo was there because he had his 2 sons with him, and his 2 sons were in the Nike Tykes. So my son Chris was playing with Bo Jackson's 2 kids. I'm going like, holy crow, this is so cool. And so then we went out to the Benoit Center to watch the dedication and listen to him talk. And like I was saying, I can't really remember what he said exactly, but it was just so genuine. I just remember him talking to us, and we felt like he was now part of the family, and that we knew him a little bit better, and we were part of his family, especially me and Chris. We were around him. And one thing I do remember, he was looking around, he goes, wow, I have a building named after me. He goes, how many people around here, put up your hands, who works in my building? And some hands went up. He goes, take the rest of the day off.
That's awesome. I would have been like, me too, I work there, just to get the day off.
I work out there.
Yeah, I work out there. Doesn't that count?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that was fun. But the funny thing with Chris was Bo was his hero, and somehow meeting the kids and actually meeting Bo, all of a sudden, like, Dad, he's no different than you are, kind of a thing.
He's just a regular guy.
It almost destroyed the myth of who Bo Jackson was, but I think that's what's kind of important in sports is, we see him on TV, we see him do great things, But all these athletes are just people. And, when they're done with their athletic careers, their dads, their grandfathers, their brothers, sisters, and stuff. And so that transcends sports. I mean, it holds us all together. Those values hold us together. This great athletic achievements are great to remember from 20, 30, 40 years ago. But in the end, we're all just people that need to get along.
Which is what I remember you were saying about the Coach K dedication, was that he brought up that family was important, and that family, and now that he's a part of the Nike family, I remember you were saying you liked that part of his speech where he said, I have my family, but now I'm part of the Nike family, and now we're going to grow together.
Yeah. It's almost like, going back to my history, is like I walked into the state of Oregon by myself with 2 suitcases, and now I have, when Chris got married, I was looking around. My family grew tremendously here, in Oregon, with my kids and relatives and so forth. And it feels the same way, this Nike family keeps growing as time goes on. And, sometimes you have those quirky little family members that, they're family, but they're kind of weird,
Every family has a few.
And yeah,
exactly.
And the Nike family has that as well, but it feels like a family. It feels like we're all watching out for each other and working together,
I was really impressed at Coach K events how he actually had his oldest grandchildren stand up.
I loved that.
Yeah, and why he was paying homage to them is that they watch after their youngest grandkid. So there's instilled in their nature to take care of each other.
Yeah.
And that very much resonated with me, especially here at Nike, because we are a company, or we are a major corporation now, but we still want to take care of each other, and we're all on the same team. We're all trying to win as the same team. #Maxim. It was very inspiring to hear Coach K really point to his heroes, which were his grandkids.
Yeah.
And which goes back to the Mother's Bistro brunch. So all the young ones went out with the moms to kind of explore Portland for about a half hour. And then at the end, we pulled the vans back around to come pick them up. But the young ones were already on the van. And the oldest grandchild stayed with Coach K and a couple other people. And so he was like, well, do I have to go on the bus with you guys? Talking to, Coach K and the older group. And I was like, no, we're pulling the other bus around, how come? And he was like, I want to go with all the younger kids. And so that just proved, and that was before Coach K even brought up the fact that he watches out for the siblings. The fact that he was like, I'm not going with the adults anymore. I want to go back with the younger kids on the other bus. And I just thought that was so cool because he's so much older than the other one. So it's kind of like, I'm done with these young kids. I want to go with the adults and be here. But no, it stays true to what he said.
Yeah. That story was powerful to me too, and we talked about it when I got home. But it was Phil was kind of joking around. He said he had 2 grandchildren, 4-year-old grandsons. He said they would have torn the place up. But the 10 grandchildren that Coach K had, they were very polite and didn't tear the place apart. And so the question was kind of so Coach K, how did you instill those values into your grandchildren? And that's when he had the 2 older grandchildren stand up. And it was it's not necessarily me. It's I pass this along to my children, and my children pass it on to their children. And the children, those grandchildren, are passing among themselves. So it's not just one person driving it. It's everybody buys into it, lives those values, and they pass them along, which is what we're trying to do here at Nike.
Yeah, it becomes a natural thing that if that's what you believe in and that's what you feel, then pass it along to others.
Exactly, yeah.
And we all do that through storytelling, which is I think, a really unique part about this company. Yeah. I get to help share Nike's culture with a lot of guests, and talking about dedication ceremonies. I was not around for many of them, but I still speak to them from what I've heard and the importance, the values, the lessons learned from them, like I was there, because it was taught to me in an important way, so I know that it should be highlighted.
Yeah, all those dedications, you think 40 years at Nike, there's, maybe 30, 40 days that maybe I can kind of clearly remember, and those dedication of buildings are a few of those days that just really stand out to me. And we don't put numbers on the buildings, we put names on the buildings. And so those names are people, and when you get to meet the people, it means a lot more than just a number on a building.
I was talking with Nelson Ferris about how we name our buildings and put up statues and posters of our sports heroes, our coach heroes, if you will. They mean a lot to how Nike did overall. However, we name our roads and our paths and our trails after our employee heroes, because they were just equally as important to the success and the growth of Nike.
Right. Yeah, and I like to work out at the Bow Center. I don't many people look up. There's flags up there at the top of the basketball court, and they have the names of some of the early people that were important to us in the early days. And that's one of the things I wish. I see some blank flags. I would just wish someday my name would be on one of those flags. Yeah.
We'll find out who we can talk to for that.
Yeah, there's a couple flags up there that have some space. You could put a name on there. But to
Steve
me,
Benz would look great on it.
Yeah, so that's about me. But it's inspirational just that we do remember those people, and we don't forget them, because they were so important to get us to where we are today. And then Nelson Ferris loves to say to people, hey, we got to be a $30 billion company without you. And so some of the new people like you, Cory, that come in, he says, and we'll get to $50 billion without you also.
Oh, I was going to say, with me.
With or without you. But it's just like he's trying to, don't get such a big head, you know.
Right.
It took a lot of work to get to where we are. You can be a part of where we're going to go, but it's a team thing. It's a family thing. Don't think you're going to do it by yourself, you know.
It's very true.
Well, family, team, winning, values, Coach K.
Absolutely, yeah.
That about sums up that day.
Yeah,
which was
exactly.
Pretty powerful and pretty amazing.
I knew Duck basketball. I didn't know much about Duke other than they're good, but now I know why they're good. You know, it's Coach K and everything he's done there over the 30 years or whatever he's coached at Duke.
40 years. Or
38 maybe?
38. Just like
we were going to get there eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, I found out he's 70 years old, which is
he looks
crazy.
amazing.
Oh, I know, yeah.
But yeah, no, and I mean, there's a lot of features throughout the Sports Center that like highlight his career and, you know, his journey, his path, his victories. Very inspiring. You know, when it is open, I'd highly recommend checking out and looking for those unique images. You know, think Tiger Woods Center, where there's cool stories everywhere on the wall. You know, maybe bring out your phone, looking through it in a different lens, and you'll get to discover new treasures. So,
do you want to tell us about any of them right now?
I mean, I really like how they have on the first floor wall, they have every single win that Coach K has had at Duke, all 1,000.
Wow.
It's an incredible feat, getting 1,000 wins, let alone getting it at one university.
Yeah. Can you tell me about the benches? I was very confused by that.
Yeah,
I saw them. I'm like, how am I supposed to sit on that?
Yeah, I looked into that, and those were called frat benches. And part of the tradition at Duke University is every year, to start out the school year, each frat builds a bench kind of in that style, decorates it. And the whole purpose of it is once Duke beats North Carolina in the Tobacco Road rivalry, they have a bonfire burning that bench.
Oh.
And I've talked with multiple people from Duke about this, and my main question is like, what happens if they lose? And they go, we never lose.
We don't lose. We don't lose.
Yeah.
But no, a unique tradition that they have there, and I forget the name of the person who designed those benches, but I knew that he was from North Carolina, and this was a diehard Duke fan, and was honored for the opportunity to create those frat benches, and hopefully won't burn those ones
yes.
when Duke beats North Carolina.
We'll keep those ones around in the fitness center.
Exactly.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'll just make a comment too. You know, like you don't remember the exact name of that person, and we can't remember exactly how many years Coach K did, but sometimes you can get away without knowing the facts because the story is the stronger thing. And so sometimes we talked about heritage and history. History tends to be more about the facts, the dates, and the names. Heritage is more about the stories of the people. And the stronger part of that is about the heritage and the culture that we're talking about. History is, you know, if you take a history class, you got to learn the dates and the people. And sometimes you know all that stuff, but you don't really understand
what happened
and what the story is behind it. So that's what we're trying to do, is really focus in on those stories that inspire people, you know, to want to be a good employee, and that will make us better as a company in the future.
Powerful words.
Yeah, thanks.
Well, thank you, Steve, for joining us.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I get the old guy on a podcast. This is this is not the way I normally talk, but you know, I got a microphone right here in front of me, which is kind of intimidating. But
well, it goes back to Coach K saying that he never thought 20 years ago he would be texting memes to his players on finals day, but he said, you know what? I'm growing with the culture. This is what kids like these days, so I'm going to send memes. And he goes, I never thought a 70-year-old grandpa would say that.
Yeah, no.
And wear skinny jeans, right?
Yeah, I wear skinny jeans, exactly.
No, that's exactly the way I feel right now, too.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, we're happy to help usher you into the next generation.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you for being our first guest.
All right, no problem. I love doing this. A little intimidating, but it was fun.
Good.
Yeah. Play your cards right when I have you come back.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, guys. Yeah.
Well, thank you all for listening and joining us again. We look forward to sharing more stories and diving deeper into Nike's culture.